In the ancient city of Cyprus around 300 BC, there lived a prosperous trader named Zeno. His wealth was vast, built through years of hard work and successful voyages between ports. However, on one fateful journey from Phoenicia to Piraeus, tragedy struck. His ship sank, and with it, all his cargo and fortune were lost to the sea. In a single moment, Zeno was transformed from a wealthy man to one of modest means, not through failure or negligence, but through forces entirely beyond his control. Imagine yourself in Zeno's position. How would you react if everything you had worked for your entire life vanished in an instant? Would you feel rage at the injustice, sorrow at the loss, or helplessness in the face of nature's indifference? Most of us would experience all these emotions and more. But Zeno's response was different. Rather than wallow in despair, he sought wisdom. He turned to philosophy, reading the works of Socrates and other thinkers of the past. From that experience, a new philosophy was born: Stoicism. The philosophy of Stoicism rests on a powerful yet simple premise. While we may not control the events that happen to us, we do have full control over how we interpret and respond to them. This shift in mindset, this reframing of perspective, can ripple through our lives, transforming not only how we face challenges, but how we find meaning in them. Stoicism is not about suppressing emotions or becoming cold and indifferent, as many people mistakenly believe. It is about cultivating calm and resilience through understanding what is and isn't within our control. Zeno, in response to his misfortune, chose not to dwell on the loss, but instead to master his response to it. His philosophy quickly gained followers and evolved into a lifelong discipline. The Stoics emphasized acceptance, clarity, and emotional regulation, not apathy. Their aim was not to avoid emotion, but to avoid being controlled by it. Over time, Stoicism found proponents from all walks of life. Some of the most notable Stoics include Epictetus, a former slave whose name literally means acquired, Seneca, a philosopher and advisor to emperors, and Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and one of the most powerful men in history. These individuals, despite vastly different backgrounds, all practice the Stoic principles of self-discipline, rational thought, and ethical living. The Stoics believed their teachings should be accessible to everyone, regardless of status or gender. Unlike many philosophical schools of their time, they held their discussions in public spaces. They believed wisdom should not be confined to the elite or hidden behind the walls of academia. One of the earliest Stoics, Musonius Rufus, mentor to Epictetus, famously advocated for the education of women in philosophy. He argued that women possess the same inclination toward virtue as men and should be equally encouraged to seek wisdom and live justly. At its core, Stoicism is practical. It offers guidance for how to live well in an unpredictable world. One of the most fundamental exercises in Stoicism is the contemplation of worst-case scenarios. By preparing our minds for misfortune, we reduce its emotional impact when it arrives. This is known as premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. If we accept that everything bad that can happen will eventually happen, we won't be paralyzed by surprise when adversity strikes. Closely tied to this is the practice of voluntary discomfort. By intentionally exposing ourselves to minor hardships, sleeping on the floor, taking cold showers, fasting, we cultivate gratitude for what we have and train ourselves to endure discomfort with grace. These exercises build emotional strength and resilience, reminding us that our survival and happiness do not depend on comfort or luxury. This mindset is especially relevant in the modern age, where consumerism bombards us with messages suggesting that happiness comes from owning more, achieving more, or appearing a certain way. We are conditioned to believe that unless we constantly upgrade our lives, we are somehow failing. Yet these beliefs often set us up for disappointment when expectations, especially unrealistic ones, are unmet. We feel unworthy, unsuccessful, and unsatisfied. Stoicism urges us to look inward for validation rather than seeking it from external outcomes. It teaches that our worth is defined not by how others perceive us or by what we acquire, but by how we act, how we think, and how we respond to life. When we tie our happiness to things beyond our control, like wealth, recognition, or relationships, we make our contentment fragile, vulnerable to the whims of fortune. Consider a person working diligently for a promotion. He puts in long hours, completes every task with care, and finally approaches his manager expecting recognition. But the promotion never comes. In such a moment, disappointment is natural. Yet, if he measured his value by the effort he gave rather than the result he didn't receive, his sense of self-worth would remain intact. Perhaps the manager was under pressure, the company couldn't afford new roles, or someone else was simply a better fit at that time. These are externalities beyond his control. This concept, known as the dichotomy of control, is perhaps the most powerful teaching in all of Stoicism. Epictetus summarized it perfectly. The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control and which have to do with the choices I actually control. This clear division allows us to focus our energy only on what we can influence, our actions, thoughts, intentions, and to let go of the rest. Even in creative endeavors, this principle applies. Imagine a YouTuber who spends weeks crafting a video. He writes the script, films it, edits it meticulously, and uploads it with care. Whether that video gains traction or not is no longer within his power. Algorithmic trends, viewer preferences, and timing are all external variables. What remains within his control is the work itself and the pride he can take in having done it well. The Stoic finds success in effort, not in outcome. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of living with less. As Seneca once wrote, learning to live with less will create space in your life for the things that truly matter to you. Minimalism isn't just about owning fewer things. It's about detaching your identity from them. True wealth, according to the Stoics, is not having more, but needing less. There are 4 central virtues in Stoic philosophy: wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. Wisdom allows us to discern what is within our control and what is not. As Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and founder of logotherapy, once said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response." Courage is the strength to persist through difficulty and to resist harmful temptations. Temperance, or moderation, teaches us to find balance and to do more with less. And justice, the highest virtue, reminds us to live not for ourselves, but for the good of others. One of the most powerful modern examples of Stoicism in action is Nelson Mandela. Imprisoned for 27 years under a brutal apartheid regime, Mandela emerged not bitter or vengeful, but wise and composed. Rather than retaliating against his oppressors, he chose reconciliation. During his time in prison, Mandela read the works of Marcus Aurelius and embraced the Stoic ideal of emotional restraint and moral clarity. His leadership helped unify a divided nation, a feat grounded in Stoic principles. Stoicism has also left a lasting impact on modern psychology. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and rational emotive behavioral therapy, REBT, are rooted in Stoic ideas. These approaches help people identify and challenge irrational beliefs, replacing them with more balanced thoughts. Logotherapy, pioneered by Viktor Frankl, aligns with Stoic views that purpose and meaning can be found even in suffering. Ultimately, Stoicism teaches us that happiness does not come from avoiding hardship, but from facing it with wisdom and grace. Life is unpredictable. Storms will come, ships may sink, but when they do, Stoicism reminds us that peace is found not in the circumstances of our lives, but in the strength of our responses. By practicing Stoicism, we don't eliminate pain, we transcend it. We learn to live fully, love wisely, and act justly. And if, at the end of our lives, we have done so, even if shorter or more difficult than we hoped, we can find comfort in knowing we lived well. Because everything, as the Stoics taught us, must come to an end.